Hey guys, Mrhappy here and welcome to my guide for turn 4 of the Binding Coil of Bahamut. In this guide, we will discuss the various mechanics of the encounter as well as recommended ways of dealing with them. This encounter has no true boss and instead consists of 6 total waves of varying enemies that must be dealt with one after the other. Each wave is timed, and should you not kill a wave fast enough, you will be forced to deal with any remaining enemies plus the enemies of the new wave at the same time. For this reason, it is imperative that you squeeze out as much DPS as possible. Before we discuss each individual wave, let us first discuss the different enemies you will encounter during turn 4. The first enemy to discuss are the clockwork bugs. These are the weakest enemies of the encounter and have very few mechanics to deal with themselves, but they will play a much larger role in the grand scheme of the fight. These spiders are encountered in numbers anywhere from 2 to 6 and should be kept under control for the entirety of the fight. Each spider hits for about 400 to 600 damage and occasionally uses the move Leech, an instant cast move that hits for about 500 to 700 damage and heals the clockwork bug. This is the only move that they have other than their auto attack. Next are the clockwork soldier and the clockwork knight. We will discuss them both individually and as a group since their moveset is the same, but the way you interact with them is vastly different. Both of these mobs have 3 total moves. The first is their basic auto attack, which hits quite a bit harder than the clockwork bugs. Additionally, they have a melee range AoE that has no cast time or warning effects. And finally, they have the ability to pull their main target towards them. These moves each have about a 10 to 15 second cooldown and will be used every time they are available. Additionally, each soldier and knight have their own personal buffs. The clockwork soldier has a stone skin effect that will negate several thousand physical damage, and the clockwork knight has a stone skin effect that will negate several thousand magical damage. On top of this, the clockwork knight will also reflect magic damage back to the user, which can greatly injure any casters. It is important to note, however, that dots applied to a knight using the spell Bane will not reflect their damage back to the summoner. If either of their stone skin effects are broken, these mobs will become immobile for 10 seconds while they recharge. During this time, they will not attack anyone or deal any damage, making it a perfect time to bring the pain onto them. It's worth noting that despite having these stone skin effects and taking no damage, the soldiers and the knights seem to generate enmity normally, even on tanks such as warriors that deal entirely physical damage. Also, their AoE effects actually have a hitbox that's smaller than the range at which they will cast it, so kiting them can greatly reduce incoming damage. The next and probably most dangerous mob in the entire encounter are clockwork dreadnoughts. These massive enemies deal the most damage out of any of the enemies you will face during this encounter. By themselves, they are still relatively easy to deal with. They only have a basic attack, and approximately every 3 basic attacks they will do a cleave. This cleave will happen between auto attacks, meaning they will do an auto attack, then cleave, then another auto attack. So expect tanks to take a large spike of damage every 7 to 8 seconds. These dreadnoughts also interact with any spiders that are currently nearby. If a spider comes in range of the dreadnought, he will consume them, killing them off and giving him a buff that increases the dreadnought's determination and healing it by 25% of its maximum HP. This buff can stack up to 4 times, at which point the dreadnought will deal approximately double damage than what he was dealing before. It hurts a lot. The final enemies of the encounter are spinner rooks. These enemies may look weak, but they can easily wipe your raid should you be unprepared for their deadly magic. Spinner rooks have 2 primary attacks outside of their basic attacks. Gravity thrust, which just deals increased damage and appears to slightly heal the rook. Their other move, on the other hand, is called Pox, and this will be cast on whoever is currently tanking the rook. Should Pox land on the rook's target, it will reduce their maximum HP by a significant amount, about 25%. This effect stacks, though the debuff shows no indication of that. Being hit by more than 1 Pox will bring your HP down extremely low. However, this spell does have a long cast time and it is quite easy to dodge, but we'll go over that in the fight encounter itself. Those are all the enemies for the encounter. Now we will discuss each wave of enemies and our way of dealing with them properly. This was our first kill, so it might seem a bit messy, but we still use this strategy and the idea is still generally the same. Before going over the strategy we used to overcome the encounter, our party makeup consisted of 2 paladins, a monk, a dragoon, a bard, a black mage, a white mage, and a scholar. You can make almost any composition work, though this fight does seem to be made easier with having at least 1 summoner and 1 scholar. Additionally, before describing each wave, you will be shown a crude drawing of the approximate location of each mob, designated by a different color outline. According to what I was told beforehand, being colorblind and all, Full black circles are bugs, blue outlines are soldiers, red outlines are knights, green outlines are dreadnoughts, and yellow outlines are rooks. So wave 1 will consist of 6 clockwork bugs spread out around the room. As soon as the bugs are engaged, the encounter timer will begin. Every 60 seconds from this point on, a new wave will join the encounter and you will be forced to deal with any leftover mobs on top of the new ones. And should you kill all the enemies of a wave before the 60-second mark, the next wave will drop down after about 2 seconds. Wave 1 is quite simple. The bugs will drop down in these locations and converge onto the first target that aggroes. Simply kill all 6 of these spiders before wave 2 begins. To do this, utilize any and all AoE abilities you might have. Summoners and Scholars are kings of this part of the fight. Have them dot up a spider and Bane plus Shadow Flare and they'll drop extremely quickly. Your only goal here in wave 1 is to kill all 6 spiders before wave 2 begins. After defeating them, have your 2 tanks quickly position themselves in the northeast and northwest sides of the room, on the glowing part of the platform. This will ensure that they are quickly able to pick up the next wave of enemies. This wave consists of 2 clockwork knights and 2 clockwork soldiers. Have the tanks pick them up as quickly as possible and proceed to kill them in whatever order works best for you. With 3 physical DPS and 1 magical, we decided to blow up one of the soldiers immediately so that the black mage could transition to the other soldier as quickly as possible. Remember that once you break the stone skin, the soldier will become inactive for several seconds. So we killed soldier 1, then we had our physical DPS kill that same tank's knight while our black mage moved on to the other soldier. After we killed Knight 1, we went over and killed Knight 2, and before helping our black mage finish off Soldier 2. You'll want to free up a tank entirely before Wave 3. So Soldier 1 and Knight 1 both belong to the same tank for us. Should you have an all melee composition, it is immensely helpful if the tank on Soldier 2 hits him with a move occasionally, not only to generate some enmity, but to help break his stone skin should your magical DPS need some help prior to Wave 3. Kill as many of them as you can before Wave 3 starts, but I still highly recommend not using any offensive cooldowns on Wave 2. After 60 seconds or the death of all 4 mobs of Wave 2, Wave 3 will begin. This wave consists of 1 Clockwork Dreadnought, which will drop in the northwest corner, and 4 Clockwork Bugs that will spawn roughly in the southeast corner. The goal of this wave is to kill the Clockwork Dreadnought in the 60-second time frame before Wave 4 begins. To do this, we feed the Clockwork Dreadnought all 4 Clockwork Bugs and heal through his increased damage. To make this easier, we have our healers positioned northwest, just behind the Dreadnought, where the Dreadnought will face when the tank picks him up. This increases the likeliness that the bugs will run into the direction to attack the healers when they receive healing aggro. Once the Dreadnought absorbs all of the spiders, you must pop any offensive cooldowns you have and destroy it. Failure to destroy the Dreadnought before Wave 4 greatly decreases your odds of success. Should you be unsure of your raid's DPS, you can move him into the southwest corner, and that means that if the Dreadnought's still alive when Wave 4 begins, you'll have a few extra seconds to actually kill it, about 3 to 5 extra seconds before Wave 4 will wipe you. So Wave 4 will consist of the following mobs: 2 Spinner Rooks and 4 Clockwork Bugs. The bugs will spawn in the far northwest and southeast corners, while the rooks will spawn towards the center of the room. The reason you want to finish the Dreadnought from Wave 3 before this is to avoid him healing off of the spiders from this wave, greatly increasing the amount of damage you need to deal to kill him. Ideally, you want to kill at least both of the Spinner Rooks plus as many spiders as you can before the 60 seconds are over. One tank should pick up all 6 mobs, while the other tank holds the raid's current target Spinner Rook. To properly avoid his Pox move, use the same strategy you would use to avoid spells such as Void Thunder 3 and Amdapor Keep. Simply walk through them when it starts casting. Once Rook 1 is down, move on to Rook 2 while your tank repositions the spiders for Wave 5. Kill Rook 2, and if you have time to kill off 1 or 2 spiders before Wave 5 begins, then do it. When Wave 5 begins, you will be greeted by 1 Dreadnought, 1 Knight, and 1 Soldier. We quickly feed this Dreadnought any remaining spiders from Wave 4 and proceed to pop all of our offensive cooldowns plus potions to kill him in the 60-second time frame before Wave 6. During this time, our other tank is kiting and generating enmity on the Knight and the Soldier in preparation for Wave 6 and to reduce incoming damage through kiting. Defeat the Dreadnought as quickly as possible, and now is where the true chaos begins. Wave 6. When going into Wave 6, it is likely you will have a full HP Clockwork Soldier and Knight. On top of that, Wave 6 will spawn another Knight, another Soldier, 2 Clockwork Bugs, a Spinner Rook, and a Dreadnought. In total, that means you are dealing with 2 Knights, 2 Soldiers, 1 Rook, 2 Bugs, and a Dreadnought. Whew, things are going to get rough. So first, positions. The Dreadnought will spawn in the north-northeast side, the Rook on the east-northeast side, A bug will be in both the northwest and southeast side, a soldier will be in the southwest side, and a knight will be in the dead center of the room. So first, feed the 2 spiders to the dreadnought immediately. It is also possible to just feed one of them and tank the other, but that just gives you more mobs to kill and less time to kill them all. So the tank that was tanking the dreadnought in wave 5 also picks up the new dreadnought in wave 6, while the healers generate healing aggro and lure the bugs next to him to feed them. While this is happening, the tank that was holding the knight and the soldier from wave 5 picks up the spinner rook and proceeds to tank all 3 of those mobs. That still leaves 1 knight and 1 soldier running rampant. To deal with this, we have 1 melee use our limit break to quickly kill off one of the knights, while our black mage kites the new soldier using Scathe, Swift Cast Fire 3, and Sprint. Once our physical DPS finish off the knight, which should be pretty quick with the limit break, we move on to the soldier. At this point, the black mage stops and uses mana wall, so he can survive several hits while the physical damage dealers break the soldier's stone skin, rendering him helpless while he is finished off. Once a soldier is dead, we move on to the next soldier and finish that one off as soon as possible so that our black mage can nuke the spinner rook and or the dreadnought. After the soldier, I personally, as the bard, move on to the spinner rook while the other physical DPS finish off the knight, and finally we as a group move on to the dreadnought. One final note, 7 minutes into this encounter, which in this video is approximately 2 minutes and 15 seconds after Wave 6 has spawned, the elevator you stand on will begin to emit a move called Emergency Override. This acts as an Enrage timer for the final wave, and will begin dealing about 1500 to 2000 damage every few seconds until either you win or you lose. This concludes all of the mechanics that you will face during turn 4 of the Binding Coil of Bahamut. Attached at the end of this video is an uncut version of the full encounter along with some commentary to note on exactly how we dealt with each mechanic and each wave. Please be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy XIV information and guides. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter in the description below for the latest updates on the channel. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care. Alright, so as we begin the fight here, this is wave 1. It's just the 6 spiders. I call them spiders, even though they're called clockwork bugs. And I mean, look at them. They're spiders. That's a fact. They're spiders, guys. So we have 1 tank stand in the middle and gather them all up while everybody else AoEs them down. The off tank isn't really doing anything special at this time. All he's really doing is using Circle of Scorn and just using some moves just to generate some enmity and just do some extra damage on them. Now, it's completely probable that your physical DPS and your mages are probably going to pull aggro on 1 or 2 of the spiders at some point, just because it's pretty hard to hold 6 mobs while everybody's AoEing and have it be perfectly okay on enmity. It's okay, just make sure healers that you're watching them and you see if one starts getting hit just to throw an extra few cures on them or a regen. Even that should just be enough to wait until the next flash comes around or a riot blade or something, or before the waves die entirely. So wave 1 gets mopped up in about 45 seconds, sorry about that. And then we move on to the soldiers and the knights. I mark the soldier and I start dotting up the knights. Now this is something that I personally do. Technically, I could already be on the soldier right now. However, I knew with our specific group's DPS that I didn't need to be on the soldier right away. So all I did was I dotted up the other target since my burst damage isn't even that great. I only really have Bloodletter and Heavy Shot. So I knew they would do a better job at it and I could spread my damage outward a little bit better for some faster kills. So we take down that soldier and the Black Mage is already working on the other soldier. We are finishing up this knight. Now this is our tank for the Dreadnought. He is going to tank the Dreadnought right where that, I guess, that lit up beam is on the map, as I noted in the video before. Seems I'm having a stuttering problem right now. So basically now we're finishing off the knight and the soldier. We actually had pretty good DPS on this run. I'm using Faux Requiem this entire time just because we only have 1 black mage, so him killing that soldier quickly is very, very important to us. The soldier and the knight go down at about the same time, and the black mage had twice as much time on that soldier as we had on that knight. So the math seems to play out here pretty evenly, but it'll depend largely on procs. And for us, it was very lucky. We got a lot of Firestarter procs and Thundercloud procs there. So now we're on the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought ate all 4 of the bugs. So after all 4 of the bugs were eaten, all the healers and ranged DPS move to the center of the room while we burst down this Dreadnought. We don't use potions on this one just because we want to have them for the next one. I know that some cooldowns like Internal Release are on a short enough cooldown that you can use them on every single wave. But for this, you know, we just save our potions so we don't have to worry about not having cooldowns available for the second Dreadnought. So this guy's going down. Remember, if you're not going to finish him, drag him to the southwest corner. That way, when these spiders come down, they won't immediately go to the Dreadnought and heal him. That is just your safe. That's just the safe way of doing it if you're not sure about your DPS. Although it is very unlikely that you'll have the time to kill the spiders here, or any spiders at all, as well as the rooks before wave 5. So overall, it will mean things will be more difficult for you, but it's completely doable. Don't feel like you absolutely have to beat that Dreadnought before wave 5 comes down. As long as your positioning is okay, you should be all right. So we killed the first rook right there, and now we're moving on to the second rook. The second rook is actually still on our off tank, and he actually cast Pox on him from a distance here, and he's unable to dodge it. However, Pox just one stack, as I said, isn't really that bad. So we just say, he's got one stack of Pox. And besides, we still have about 30 seconds left on the wave before the Dreadnought comes down. So Pox should wear off approximately right before the next wave comes down. So we don't have great AoE DPS for this, at least not great AoE DPS if we want to continue to DPS onto the next phase. So we just kill off one spider, so we're only dealing with a 3-stacked Dreadnought instead of a 4-stacked Dreadnought. I mean, every little bit helps. Each bug is about 25% damage, so really there's no messing around here. Why even take the chance? Why wait around when you can kill a bug and make the next phase a little bit easier? So our other tank picks up the Knight and the Soldier, and now he's going around. He's flashing them every opportunity he gets. He's also Riot Blading and Raging of Halone. He's doing whatever he can to hold aggro on those two while we deal with these. Now, he is kiting them around to take reduced damage. This is mostly because he's not generating amazing enmity on these enemies because he's kiting them a lot. So by kiting them, he's taking extremely reduced damage, which is lowering the amount of healing enmity he's acquiring. But as soon as he's been healed once, that's when things can get really rough. One healer on him really needs to watch his health and make sure that he doesn't get too low, but that you don't overheal him too much. Overhealing is really your worst enemy in this fight. If you overheal at all, expect to pull aggro on the soldiers and the knights pretty easily. So the Dreadnought's almost going down here. We popped potions, we popped everything we had. I also threw down a Rain of Death to reduce the incoming damage for the tank. And now that's it. Now we're on to wave 6. This is really where the fight begins as far as I'm concerned. So I actually do my healers a favor, and I pull the bug myself over to the Dreadnought. Now, with our position here, with the healers over on the north wall, the bug in the southwest should actually about cross paths with the Dreadnought here, and he automatically eats them both. So I drag the one bug, and the southwest bug automatically comes up just close enough in order for the Dreadnought to eat him. So we finish the Knight pretty quickly. We actually have our Dragoon tank it while our Monk limit breaked it. The Dragoon's a little bit more durable, and we tried to avoid having to heal our damage dealers as much as possible during this phase. So that actually helped a lot between Life Surge and Bloodbath and just the sheer tankiness of a Dragoon over a Monk. So after that, the Eos actually pulled aggro on the Soldier, but it ended up working perfectly because Eos was placed in the center of the room, so it was actually right near our melee damage dealers. So they just jumped right on this Soldier. Black Mage got him off the healers after Eos died, and then we decided to move on to this next part. Now, I actually move on to the Spinner Rook immediately, or actually I move around the mobs that I'm fighting a little bit. I throw a few dots on the Clockwork Dreadnought. I move back and forth between the Spinner Rook and the Knight and the Soldier, and I'm really trying to spread my damage here because the Spinner Rook I'm the only damage dealer other than the tank on the Spinner Rook. That's just how it is. And I really want to kill that thing off as soon as possible because not having to deal with Pox helps so much. Black Mage threw down a nuke there, which helped finish it off pretty easily. So now we have the Knight and the Soldier pretty much is all we're dealing with. We have the Knight, the Soldier, and the Spinner Rook. So Spinner Rook's going down right now, and then after that, melee finish off the Knight, and then the Black Mage is on the Dreadnought. At this point, we lost that Monk to the sort of awkward positioning of this Dreadnought. As you can see, he actually cleaves in the direction of the melee damage dealers, and the Monk accidentally got hit. It wasn't the Monk's fault at all. It was just that this was, I think, really our first time doing this well in this phase. So we kind of weren't prepared for maybe getting our exact positioning down and exactly what direction everything is facing. It may not look like he's in range to cleave that far away, but he actually is, and we made a miscalculation there. So now we're at the last 50% of the Dreadnought. People are running We really don't have much damage. We're missing a damage dealer, so we hit the Enrage right now. Now, luckily, our healers were able to keep up. Throw on a Medica too, then start using Medica every single time one comes out. We also had Succor going around. Our Scholar, they did an amazing job here. I don't know how they managed to keep up these Succors as well as heal the main tank, because our White Mage is strictly AoE healing at this point. So we are basically on fumes right now, and we just wanted to finish the fight so bad, and this ended up being our first kill. We got it a few weeks ago, and hopefully after watching that, you guys have a little bit more idea of the positioning that we used, as well as what order we kill the mobs in. Keep in mind that different compositions do think different ways, and different groups may find it easier to maybe kill the spinner rook first, or maybe to just kill the 2 knights and then deal with the 2 soldiers. Find what works out best for your group. This is just how our group did it. It is by no means the only way to do the fight. There are a lot of different ways you can do this fight. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, please like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And until next time, take care.